You're listening to State of the Arts. We cover the art scene in St. Augustine, the nation's oldest city. From the people and organizations that create the art to the venues that display it, we cover it all, from artist to venue and everything in between. You're listening to State of the Arts. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for listening. I'm Jon Beshara. This is State of the Arts. Up first in this episode, the co-founders of the Limelight Theater and icons of the St. Augustine art scene, Anne Kraft and Gene Rahner. We pick up our conversation as we discuss the fundamentals of play production.
There's something to be said for that collaboration, for that coming together and everybody working together and creating this interesting and fun thing.
But it becomes something so much bigger than yourself that you're a part of, and that it is so amazing and so exciting that all of you have a part of creating this thing.
And you can't let egos get in the way. Egos, that is the biggest
the killer.
Bugaboo. That is the killer.
Yeah.
You've got a story there. Tell me about that one. Tell me an ego story. Come on, June. Come on. Just tell me a little ego story. Leave out the names. Just tell me the ego story.
No, it's not any good without the names. No, you have to collaborate. You have to work. I mean, it's all about the product, for God's sake, you know.
And everybody benefits when the product's
of course.
an appropriate product.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Because
everybody works together, and they work for the project. When it starts to be, well, I only want to be on stage, and I'm thinking, no, if you can't work for the whole product, I don't want to be involved.
We need more versatile help.
Exactly. You know, you can't produce this by yourself, and it's just, you know.
Gene and I, we used to say, I don't want to hear that it's not my job. Remember that? Yeah. If the trash needs to be taken out, if the bathroom needs to be washed, the floor needs to be cleaned, we did it all. But it was everybody's job. Now, the thing is, too, that there is a way, and a wonderful way, to develop talent.
What does develop talent mean?
To coach them, to to learn more about their role, how to get from here to there.
That's a director's job, right?
No, not necessarily.
Not at all.
That's a coach.
They should come prepared. I mean, you learn, the lines, and you learn the blocking, and you get a sense, where everything is going. But that's all taken care of before you enter the stage. The coaching takes place elsewhere. So you don't have time to mess with that.
What is coaching?
Coaching is learning what that line means, what every frigging line means underneath. You're not just saying words. In the context of who you are, in the character, what do you want in this play? What is your purpose of being here? Why are you saying this line? It's so important. Well, it's important, but very often just the lines are just said. You can get away with it, but there's so much more. There's so much more. I don't know bupkis about lighting, and I depend on the set designer to do their thing. I love working with the individual actor and helping them become more full in what they're reaching for, and delivering the most meaning that they can find in those words without giving line readings. Action. Well, it's the way I was trained as an actor, right, to find action words and needs.
Well, let's, just in case somebody didn't know, just for a clarification, what is a line reading, Gene?
Oh, that's when somebody tells you how it should be said.
Exactly how it should be said?
Mm-hmm.
No, how the director thinks it should be said.
If
they haven't found it in themselves, and you have to, go further with it. But,
that's sort of the last
resort. I've never done that. Well, yes, I have.
Yeah, I was going to say, come on.
I think St. Augustine is ready for a professional theater company in a theater venue. And it just takes somebody with money to come along. We have the audiences here. I think St. Augustine is ready. I'm not going to do it.
It's interesting. I think that's why I'm not rich and famous. It's like, I will do it for free because I love it. I don't care about the damn money. I know.
I have my floors that need to be washed.
I don't do floors. I don't do windows. But put a roll up there for me. I'll drive 40 miles to do it every day.
Why is that?
Because I have to. It feeds me. It feeds your soul. It feeds your soul. It's the missing element. I've been paid, and I'm a union member. All the damn unions, yes.
Are you still an active member of all of them?
Not active, but of SAG, yes.
Right on.
And after. But I don't get any work anymore. I'm in the wrong place for it, number one. This location.
For film work.
Yeah. And film is not my thing. I've done film, I've done commercials, and I've made money with it and whatnot, and it's fine. But I never pursued it. If it happened and it came up, okay, I'll do it, fine. And I got paid. And it paid for my daughter's first year in college. That was good. But theater, live theater, is the thing that is so rewarding to me. And I don't care if I get paid or not. The professionalism of it is your behavior. I show up, I'm on time, I'm reliable, I know my lines, I know what it's about, and people can rely on me. Okay. I don't waste everybody's time bullshitting around. They're not paying attention to what their job is. Their job is there to work on the show, work on their script, work on their lines, and do it. Leave your what happened today at the door. That's the first thing you learn as an actor, a professional actor. Leave your crap at the door.
Ladies, I thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
It's been very insightful.
I want to question you next.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, not now. I got an hour of questions.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Great.
And now a woman whose hair and makeup career in television and film spans over 35 years. Her work in TV includes Aquaman, Sheena, and 21 Jump Street. Her film credits include Midnight Crossing, Honey Dripper, Transporter 2, Bad Boys, and Bad Boys 2. That means her clientele ranges from Johnny Depp to Sandra Bullock and Martin Lawrence. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our spotlight artist, Diane Maurno.
I can't handle the word like retire. Am I a retired makeup artist? No, I'm not. I'm selective, but I've transferred my art to other areas, so I never have to call it retired.
So when you say you transform your art to other areas, can you be more specific?
Well, let's see. I've always been painting a little bit, but never seriously. And then I fell upon an artist in St. Augustine, Martha Ferguson, who's amazing, who really inspired me on one First Friday. And I started taking her classes, and I got motivated. Then the problem was, what do we feel like painting? Do I really feel like painting scenery? Not really, this and that. Anyway, which led me to painting pictures from movies I've worked on, which was like unbelievable. That was the art show, at the art gallery, where it was
Artist of the Month. You were Artist
of the Month, yeah. But it was bizarre. It came out of left field, and all of a sudden I'm like painting portraits and capturing like emotions on canvas, and it was just bizarre. And I've been kind of going in that direction. I love the transfer of everything I loved about the makeup industry, and now it's just going on canvas.
How does it transfer? I mean, do you feel like you're painting a human face when you're like skin and bone when you're painting? I mean, is doing makeup basically just painting a face? I mean, talk about that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's funny you should ask that question, because I asked myself that question, like, how is this happening? And it was just, I mean, after like 35 years in the film industry, I found that I just like innately know the structure of a face. So when I pick up a brush and I start painting, subconsciously I'm thinking bone structure and highlighting. And then like the makeup knowledge comes in, you know, highlighting of certain areas, but mainly the structure, the facial structure. Talent, or let's call it art, is transferable. If you are creative and artistic in one area, there are probably a lot of other things you can do creatively if you allow yourself to. A lot of people pigeonhole themselves and say, okay, yeah, I'm an artist. I paint. That's it, I paint. I can't draw it too well, but I can just paint. Or I'm an actor. I can't paint. I can't, all these can'ts. Talent is transferable. And I think that's how I got from bouncing around, doing whatever I want. If I want to fix something or make something or paint something, I know that I have some artistic talent, so therefore I'm going to give it a shot.
So how did you break into the film industry?
They were doing these spaghetti westerns in Miami. My former husband had a client who was a stockbroker that was the producer of the spaghetti westerns. So he said, oh yeah, you can come on my film. So I went really crazy, went to New York, studied some more. I got on this film, basically did nothing. It's kind of like an apprentice. And I thought, oh great, you know, that was great. But like right after that, another producer on the show gave me Midnight Crossing.
Right on.
You know, so it just, you know how the business is, it's snowballed from there. But it was just, you know, the intrigue about the movie industry and the, you know, the whole celebrity thing. And it just, you know, one thing led to another and I wound up in the film industry.
Your story speaks of somebody who has professional integrity. You were in Bad Boys as a makeup artist.
Right.
When we come to the second movie, the co-star of the movie liked your work enough that he wanted you to be his personal hairdresser, makeup artist.
And I'll tell you, it's so much more than just putting makeup on faces. And there's an art to that too, just dealing with people, dealing with celebrities. You know, I mean, there's a makeup artist you are as far as application. If you can't deal with the people and make them comfortable, make them feel great, you know, regardless of how much makeup you put on them, even if it's your choice of minimal, if you step out of that chair feeling great, that's an art. You know, someone sits in your chair, you look at them, it's not a routine like, okay, there's all the makeup lined up, I'm going to put all these things on your face. It's determining like what's necessary. That's where the art comes in. Like I've seen a lot of makeup artists that do that, even hairdressers. Even when I was like doing hair, cutting hair, they'll put a haircut on a person or put this list of makeup, you know, on a person that's maybe not necessary. So the art of makeup is deciding like what's needed. You look at this face and you think, well, it needs a little contouring. You know, I think I'll contour this out a little bit, add a little color, skin tone is not quite right. Let me alter that a little bit. So I think a lot of the art is in the initial decision making of what's needed to make the person look better, look beautiful. Now, then again, in makeup, which I did a lot of, you know, special effects stuff too, if the person's supposed to look sad or scary or sick, pale and sick, that's where the artistry comes in too. You know, someone's on their deathbed. We're talking about color. We're talking about, you know, things that, or injuries. There's a lot of research involved. You know, the person is bruised. What stage bruise is that? Did it just happen? Is it red? Is it old? Is it getting yellow and green? So a lot of the decisions are where the artistry comes in. Well, it's not necessarily the application, like in sadness, okay, the person is suddenly sad. Their color usually stays, you know, I mean, it's pretty similar, but there are all kinds of gadgets in makeup. This little menthol blower that you cut for a second, blow a menthol in their eyes, which kind of, irritates the eye just a little bit and promotes tearing up or red eyes. So it's little tricks too. The art of acting, you are the product. So I was like very interested in acting for a while, got into some of the organizations and, professional actors of South Florida and this and that. And the thing that totally kind of got me off that track, which is actually pretty funny, because I took a lot of acting workshops. I did, showcases. And then I went on this casting, very few castings. I couldn't take castings too well. That didn't, I couldn't handle that rejection. But I went on a casting for Miami Vice, and the director recognized me because I'd been on the show, day playing as makeup artist. Okay. Because I was on a previous show and was, in the makeup department. So I said, yeah, I'm a makeup artist. I worked on the show a couple of times. And I read for him, and he said, these were his words, which changed, that's it. I never pursued acting since. He said, wow, he says, that was pretty good for a makeup artist.
So how old were you when the creative bug hit you?
I started, even as a child, like I'd make some picture and like people were framing it. And I thought, well, it's your family. They love anything you do, whatever. But I did have inklings that I had artistic talent, but it actually didn't start coming out until I, got into makeup and got into hairdressing and all. And I started, more and more it started unfolding. And then acting, I think that whole thing, getting into acting, when I was in Miami, when I was going to makeup school, there was a gentleman, Walter Zukowski. He just passed away last year. He was older then. I mean, I don't know how old he was, but he was everything. He was an actor. He spoke 5 languages. He was like this brilliant man. He kind of he saw that in me. It really encouraged me. And I had this idea. I was getting into makeup. I had this idea to open up, which I did. It was a warehouse space called Backstage, okay? And I thought, well, if I get into the makeup business, because I was a hairdresser also, I thought, well, in this space, I called it a salon because they had all requirements for salon, but I also rented it out for all kinds of things. I was in the North Miami area. I saw these theater seats piled up. It was Philip Michael Thomas's theater. They were dumping these theater seats. I drove by and I said, what are you doing with those theater seats? They said, do you want them? I went and got a friend with a van, brought the theater seats to my space called Backstage, set up the theater seats, rented out the space for acting workshops. Plus I had a little corner called a salon. So I was cutting hair. So if I wasn't doing makeup, at least I had some income. I'm a hairdresser. Plus I was renting it out for acting workshops, all of which I took free, plus I got paid for renting the space. But Backstage was the ultimate place for anything art. Actors loved it. I mean, I had stuff donated that were on props that were, people didn't have anymore, like swords and hats. And I mean, the place was amazing. It really was. And my friend Walter, I had kind of given up hope, like, oh God, Walter, I don't know if I can do this. I rented the space. I felt like I couldn't afford to fix up. He said, let's just, whatever. Put so it was very rustic. It was a warehouse space, but it was like so eclectic. It just attracted all kinds of people. And when I met Marty, he was a talent agent at the time. We put him in there too. Another little corner. He had a talent office. We put that in Backstage too. Oh my gosh, that lasted until I moved to St. Augustine. It was a good 10 years. And then we left for other, life goes on and various reasons, but a good some 10, 15 years. I mean, I had people come in, I brought in acting coaches. Michael Shurtleff came to backstage and taught classes.
How many people could be in a class?
It could hold 20, 30 people easily, like sit down in a theater seat, 20, 30 people.
How did you get Shurtleff there?
I knew some actors in Miami that knew him personally, and he said, yeah, great, I'll come down there. And then there were a lot of local accomplished, do you know Anthony Colon? Ever hear that name? Miami actor. Anyway, on a local level, actors like that came in and did workshops, did a lot of like improv workshops, which were a blast at backstage, a blast.
Did you take any of these classes?
I did, all of them, because at the time I was very much into acting, and it was like, oh my God, I'm taking the classes free and they're paying me to be here. So it's like a dream come true.
Thanks, Diane. You take care. We'll see you later.
Okay, thanks. You too, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Up next, a cautionary tale by Gene Rahner.
I did have a woman answer her cell phone during my monologue.
Oh, God.
She answered it
Oh.
and said, so everybody could hear, I can't talk right now. I'm in the theater watching a show. So we all stopped. I mean, this is out of a movie. I could not believe it. And today, cell phones are going off in theaters. I could kill them. Absolutely kill them. There's no excuse for that. If you're a doctor, it should be on vibrate, you leave, da-da-da-da. But cell phones are, and it says at the beginning of every performance, please, blah, blah, blah. They're idiots. They're all idiots.
That would have cracked me up to hear somebody answer their cell phone. Did you say anything to them?
No, we just stopped until the phone call was over and then continued.
Oh my God, that had to be so weird.
Oh, it's live theater. Many weird things happen.
Oh God,
in live
we've
theater.
had, the sprinklers go off.
What?
During the performance, we had the fire alarm go off during the performance.
Was there a fire,
there's
or
all
was
kinds-
this like a
No,
an
there's
oops?
just something went off. It was, I forget what show it was.
In small theater, though, especially in the
That was
Monson,
it, that's
people would, in the front row, they'd put their feet up on the stage.
Yeah.
No
You know,
way.
yeah, they're just sitting there, putting their feet up there, being comfortable at home. It's like, please.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the stage was,
Yeah, 8 inches high.
Yeah.
That's the fun of it. I mean, what the hell?
And now some insights on the art and craft of motion pictures by the founders of Diffusion Productions, Brian Murie and Dustin Tuccillo.
What role does craft, if any, play in art, and how would you differentiate between art and craft?
I think there's a discipline that's required to create. This gets dangerous, and this is me. But I feel like because I've made a form of art, artistic expression, my life's work, I'd like to believe that real art requires disciplined effort to make it. When you learn about the classic painters, and we see the Mona Lisa, but there were over I want to say it's over 2,000 Mona Lisas painted before he said, I got it right. This is my art. He crafted and crafted and crafted and crafted until he said, this is my art.
So when did it transcend from craft to art?
It probably transcended from craft to art the first time he put ink on the canvas, but for him, it wasn't fully an expression of his art until he worked through his craft. Dustin could see that and say, that's beautiful. Well, that's my first draft. That's not there yet. That's not me. That's not my art. That's just me working out my craft. Is that Does that?
No, I hear you, and I think that that says a lot about how you see yourself as an artist and a creator, because there is that crafting of things, the honing of making them better and better in order to achieve some level or of perfection that you can be proud of intrinsically in yourself and say, I did that. This is mine.
Do you ever reach a level of perfection?
No, we strive, never attain, right? So, but my second thought to that is good example with classical painters and the Mona Lisa. But there are plenty of people who call found art and lost art and something that the chimpanzee makes, and Jackson Pollock throwing paint on everything. That's all art too. I don't have to like it. I don't even have to see beauty in it, but I do consider it to be art.
Why?
Because it's something that was created. That's literally, I go back to that basic definition every time. The act of creation is the act of creating art. And so anything it is, I don't have to like it. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to speak to me. But who knows what else it is. Once you give it to the world, it can do whatever it's supposed to do. I think that is art. I think there's perfecting art forms. I think there's training. I think there's, just what we do, in making images. It's like these days, everybody's a videographer, man. You got cameras on the back of your phone that were better than anything they had in the 60s or 70s, right?
Or this is better than they had in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody's a movie maker now, because you got iMovie and you got this and you got that, and all you need is, I remember, because I came out of college and kind of lived through the transition into digital. I never was really in the film world. Brian was very much in the film world. Not very much longer before, but I literally was on the cusp of that transition. So I came out, my program in college was dedicated to nonlinear editing systems, digital video. It said, this is the way the world's going, and there's still this huge faction of people going, no, film will never go away. Now we see that it's made that change, And so everybody's a filmmaker. I came out and I had to compete with, once I had done my craft for 10 years, I'm competing with kids fresh out of college with a 5D Mark II and a website they did on iWeb, and they're a production company. So that's there, but honing that craft, the training you learn, knowing how optics work, knowing what lenses do, knowing the kind of definition you can get and shallow depth of field and being able to paint with light, that's honing your craft. Stuff you can do on an iPhone, it's still art. It just might not be good art. Mm-hmm. You learn to perfect your art.
And it might be amazing art.
What makes it a good or a bad shot?
It's got to be interpretation. I mean, it's got to be what's viewed.
The elemental aspects of it is what I'm talking about.
Well, and so we can study elemental aspects of good shot blocking and everything else, and it's lit right. So, if you're lighting an interview where you want the speaker to be a person that people trust and thing with, you don't light him like he's in an interrogation room in a thing, no black silhouette where they can't see his face or anything else, right? So there are elements to art that you use as pieces to to craft that story and to tell a story the way you want it. We can choose lighting from, left, how much fill, overhead. We can make somebody look and feel completely different that will make the audience member go, oh, he's a different person, that they're evil or they're good or they're bad. Even subjective things like that with tricks of light and stuff. So there's elements that we can learn to how to make our craft better, right? Like, so I cut my teeth as an audio guy. Here's the thing we always go back and forth on. Audio is generally the forgotten art of any commercial filmmaking or commercial video.
Until it's bad.
Until it's bad, because the truth of the matter is people are much more able to accept bad video and pass by, but if the audio's bad, it hits you on a subliminal level and it drives people crazy. So ambient shifts, poor quality, it takes people right out of the immersion, and they can't get back into it. Whereas you're like, oh, shaky video, no, that's a stylistic choice. That's another art form, But audio is kind of where, if it's not done right, it's the first and most noticeable thing. And if people don't understand why they don't like something, because the audio is hitting them back here, not here, right? Sorry, I'm on a podcast. It's hitting the back of their mind, not the front. It's where they would see it and go, oh, that's, that cut was bad or this was bad or whatever. So I think that's, what you mentioned was we have tools that we can use to kind of help us tell the story. And then we hope that what we do is get across that story in a way that hits people like we want it to. Again, once we let it out there, we don't know. It's from then on, it's subjective, it's a viewership. We can't go to everybody's house and go, oh no, you missed the point. It's really, here's what it meant, and here's what you were supposed to see. We don't get the option to do that. So
would you do it if you could?
Sometimes, but but no, the point is, I'm very aware that it's not, and that it's not possible. And so you have to hope that you've done your job well enough that the right meaning is conveyed. And if not, it's can't change it at that point.
We've shot so many frames. Dustin and I have both been in this industry since the mid-90s. The work that maybe I don't want to say the most proud of, but has a deep emotional level connection with me, that is an expression of who I am, is a film that I did with a good friend, Andrew Howell, called 83 Days. And you asked about a good shot. So there's a shot in that film. I'll briefly give a synopsis of 83 Days, which is very poignant today. 83 Days is the story of a young 14-year-old black man in South Carolina who, I shouldn't call him a man, he was a boy, who was accused of rape and murder of 2 children. He was accused, arrested, tried, and executed within 83 days. It was a true story. We were able, in a short film, a half-hour-long film, to retell a portion of that story, a synopsis of that story. Very powerful, very, very well done. Andrew Howell did an exceptional job as a director. There's one shot in that. There's 2 shots. There's many good shots in that film. There's 2 shots in that film that I look at, and one expresses my technical craft, and the other expresses pure emotional art. And the one shot is in the interrogation scene when a horrid deputy, who is a real character, who is beautifully played, is interrogating and forcing this young boy to confess, ultimately to protect his family. In that moment, the boy stands up and is saying, "No, you're wrong." And then verbally, the deputy shouts him down, and he's seated and crushed. All of that pivot in the moment, in the first third of the film, the lens could be wide. I'm using my hands to express the shot, but it could be a wide shot and stable and show the 2 people with their interaction. The performance could be excellent, but the lens was right on his face. And I was on that tightrope, operating that shot, watching his face, looked up at the deputy, looked down at the boy. The boy jumped up, and I had to move instantaneously not to lose his frame and his head and all that emotion. And then he was shouted down, and he was in the seat and crumpled. And if I missed any moment of that performance is not something you want to repeat 100 times. You want to nail that. That was a good shot. I got it. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. The end of the shooting time, we only had 4 days to capture the story. It was very brief. And it was all funded by the director, Andrew, who brought us out. But they were telling, put the stuff in the truck. We're out of time. We have to be on this property, out of this property in minutes. And the father and the son were walking together, going from one place to another in full character and dress, but I was wandering around with a camera with my camera assistant, and I grabbed the 2 of them and said, "I need one more shot. I've got to have this shot." And I had them sit on a deck looking out at a pond with a fishing pole, and I said, "Just talk to each other. Try to catch a fish." The light was beautiful. They were genuinely with each other, and even as I talk about it now, I get emotional. That shot summed up my relationship with my son. It wasn't skin tone, it wasn't cultural, it was human depth. And I looked around the room multiple times when we showed that film, and people were just sobbing. When they see that father and the son together, that's art. That's deep. That's above natural. That's what we want as artists.
Between technique, which you associated with craft, and then emotion, which you associated with art. The difference, I mean, when technique would be, and I'm just throwing stuff out here, is that like when you're familiarizing yourself with your equipment and you're getting all of that together, and the art comes out of your collaboration with that piece of equipment and the people you're working with? I just want to kind of clear that up a little bit between what technique
I think you could,
or craft.
If you felt compelled to delineate those 2 things, then that's a fair way to do it. There's technique, and the technique
you do it. Tell me.
Well, it's the technical aspect, right? We learn how to push the right button. We know how to make our camera record. We know how to handle media. when I'd put a lens on the front. That's technique, I guess. What comes out of it, what comes out and what's shot and then goes off to be edited, that's the art. Putting a lens on a camera is an art, but what you can use that to create is the art.
What's the difference between obsession and focus?
Not much.
Profit.
Moving on. You ever find yourself dealing with those, one or the other?
He's the obsession in our tandem.
What?
He obsesses about spreadsheets and details and nuance, and it's wonderful. I love that
organization. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of, I don't know, I've lived a lot of my life realizing that if I don't take the time to plan correctly, that things get missed and things get lost. So I don't know if I'd call it obsessive, but I'm sure some would. But yeah, I tend to make sure that I dot all my I's and cross all my T's, and that's setting up for success, especially in a project like the stuff that we do. I mean, so many of the projects that we do have so many moving parts and so much ability for things to fall through the cracks and just not be able to get what we want. And at the end of the day, for most of what we're doing, there's a client out there paying for that, and we need to deliver. We need to make sure that when we walk away that they've gotten what they paid for, and we can't just look at them and say, hey, we need another day, so double your budget, or sorry, we didn't get that. It's not how the game works. So coming in with good pre-planning is setting yourself up for success. And yeah, I'm a little obsessive, but it's all right.
It is all right. And it's valuable when we're on set and we're focused, and a ballerina on the stage that knows that a big jump is about to happen is focused. They're not talking about what they're going to have for dinner. They're not looking at their phones on the stage. They're on the stage. They are focused. If we're doing our job right, then just like a ballerina, we have practiced that jump 1,000 times. We have thought it through over and over again up until the moment that we do the jump. And then we jump and we pray that the other person is focused and not, checking their Twitter account. And then we have been focused together. We are creating art together. That is the unique part of the performing arts, which I would say video is a performance art.
The collaborative aspect?
The collaborative aspect.
Certainly. I like a set that's big enough to have the right technicians on it so that people have the ability.
What does right technician mean?
Oh, so I like a set where we have a gaffer who's somebody who's lighting director. I like a set where he's got an extra set of hands, that we have a good audio guy, we have director of photography, we have a producer, we have a tech and a DIT to data manage. It's not an overwhelming set, but once you get to that 6 or 7 people, you exponentially be able to get better. Because when it's just 2 guys running and gunning, we can do some cool stuff, but that's a lot of work for 2 guys, and it's all, it's balls to the wall all the time. Hey, it's a great time.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
I love that we rolled into it. Like, you were like, should I be recording? You just always talked for an hour, and it was great. It was
like
awesome.
that. Yeah. Now went by fast.
Yeah.
And now for a preview on the next episode, we leave you with the words of Albert Silas.
You've got to dedicate yourself to make your own sense of quality come true.
We'd like to thank everyone who shared their thoughts with us today, and we'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Let us know at risingtideproductions158.com or on our Facebook page, Rising Tide Productions. A special thanks to Sonic Pistalero for the music, Corey Michael Smithson for still photography, Diffusion Productions for their drone footage, producer and editor Heather Eggleston, and the Beach Art Studio for the use of its lovely space. I'm John, and we appreciate you listening.